It's wild to think about, but linguists and behavioral psychologists have actually found that just swapping out like an everyday verb for a more strategic one doesn't just change how other people see you.
Right.
It actually actively tricks your own brain into acting more like a leader. Like it alters the whole power dynamic of whatever room you're standing in. So today, we are not just looking at a boring vocabulary list, we're really decoding the psychological framework of authority.
Yeah, it's a completely fascinating phenomenon, really.
Yeah.
You can take a speaker who feels, incredibly anxious, give them a handful of specific high-leverage action verbs, and their entire posture just changes.
Wow, really? Just from the words?
Absolutely. The way they conceptualize a problem fundamentally shifts just by changing the label they apply to it.
And I mean, that is exactly the kind of communication upgrade we're tackling today. So, welcome to the Biz English channel, and welcome to today's deep dive. We are absolutely thrilled to have you with us. And hey, if you are ready to instantly upgrade how you sound in the workplace, and honestly in your personal life too, do us a quick favor right now. Hit that like button, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and get your keyboards ready because we are definitely going to want your opinions down in the comments section today.
Yes, please do that. So today we're looking at a strategy that elevates general everyday English into advanced professional business English. And the crazy part is, it relies on just 8 versatile power verbs.
Just 8, that's it.
Just 8. But the real magic isn't just in memorizing the 8 words. It's actually in a linguistic concept called collocations.
Okay, wait, let me stop you right there, because the word collocation sounds like something straight out of a postgraduate linguistics seminar.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Give me the practical breakdown, what does that actually mean for someone just walking into a Monday morning staff meeting?
Fair enough. Fair enough. A collocation is simply a pair or a group of words that are habitually juxtaposed. They naturally lock together in the minds of native speakers.
Okay, so like words that just belong together.
Exactly. If you just memorize the definition of a power verb, it's like owning a single brick. But if you learn its collocations, the specific nouns it pairs with, to create a broader meaning, you suddenly have the ability to build a wall.
Ah, I love that analogy.
Right. You combine these 8 verbs with different subjects and objects in hundreds of ways to handle almost any professional scenario.
So it's like a force multiplier. You learn one word, but you gain 50 phrases.
Precisely.
Okay, let's put this into practice, right? Let's start with the anatomy of a crisis. If you want to project authority, your first hurdle is proving you can handle chaos without panicking.
Which is hard for a lot of people.
Oh, totally. The instinct for most people when something goes wrong is to say, oh no, I need to find out what's wrong.
Which, is an entirely natural human reaction.
Yeah.
But let's look at the cognitive framing of that phrase for a second. Find out what's wrong is incredibly reactive. It basically implies you're wandering around in the dark, just hoping to bump into the answer by accident. So the structural upgrade here is the verb identify.
Identify.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't find out what's wrong. You identify the problem. You identify the risks. You identify the bottleneck.
Okay, I want to test that. So let's say the server crashes and the company website is offline.
A nightmare scenario.
Right. Everyone in the room already knows something is wrong. Does swapping find out for identify really change the temperature of the room that much?
It absolutely lowers the temperature. I mean, think about the medical field. A doctor doesn't find out what's wrong with your chest.
Right, they wouldn't say that.
No, they identify the pathology. The word identify is clinical. It implies a really systematic, objective search rather than some frantic scramble.
So it's like telling your team, hey, I'm not overwhelmed by this failure, I'm just isolating the variable.
Exactly. And to use your own sort of concept here, general English is like a blunt instrument, right?
Yeah.
But these upgraded verbs, they're like scalpels. They are precise.
That makes a lot of sense. And it kind of strips the emotional blame out of the equation, which actually brings to mind how this applies outside the office too.
Oh, for sure.
Like, if your kid comes home with a terrible report card, the instinct is to ask, well, what is wrong with you? Or, let's find out what's wrong with your study habits.
Which immediately puts them on the defensive.
Immediately. But if you sit down and say, hey, let's identify the hurdles you're facing in math.
You've completely changed the dynamic.
Right. You're no longer an interrogator. You're a partner. You're joining forces with them to look at an external problem.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But, identifying the leak in the boat doesn't actually stop you from sinking.
Fair point.
Yeah.
You eventually have to stop the water.
Exactly. And the standard phrase we all use is, well, I need to fix the problem.
Yeah. I say that all the time. But it feels a bit mechanical, doesn't it?
It is mechanical. The word fix implies a binary state. Like
Right.
how a pipe is broken, you put a wrench to it, it is fixed. But true leadership rarely deals with binary mechanical problems. You're usually dealing with nuanced, messy, human problems. So the power verb you want to transition to here is resolve.
So, resolve the issue, resolve the crisis. Why does that sound so much more authoritative than simply saying fix the problem?
Because the depth it implies. You can fix a flat tire,
Mhm.
right? But you can't just fix a tension-filled disagreement between two rival departments in your company.
Oh, yeah. That requires way more than a wrench.
Exactly. Fixing implies slapping a bandage on it. Resolving implies comprehensively settling the underlying complexities so the problem doesn't just resurface next week.
It requires emotional intelligence. I mean, fixing a broken bone means putting it in a cast, but resolving the patient's health means setting the bone, managing their pain, scheduling physical therapy so they can actually walk again.
That's a perfect analogy. It encompasses the entire ecosystem of the problem. If you tell a client, I will fix this, you sound like a technician.
But if you tell a client, I will resolve this, you sound like an executive.
And that executive presence is what builds deep trust. When you resolve an issue, you're projecting that you understand the ripple effects, not just the immediate symptom.
Okay, so let's look at the next phase of leadership. The crisis is resolved, the servers are back online, or, the argument between the kids is over.
Right, the immediate fire is out.
Exactly. But a manager who only puts out fires is just a firefighter. To actually move a team forward, you have to shift your focus to the people.
You have to transition from playing defense to playing offense.
Yeah, and the common phrasing here usually centers around making people feel good. We hear managers say, well, I need to give my team confidence.
Which just sounds supportive.
It does, but linguistically, it feels incredibly weak. Why is that?
It's weak because the verb treats confidence like a physical object you just hand to someone, like a cup of coffee.
Hmm.
It implies the employee is merely a passive receptacle.
Oh, interesting.
The power verb upgrade here is motivate. You motivate your staff. You motivate the sales team.
So why does motivate pack a bigger psychological punch than giving confidence?
Because motivation speaks to an internal locus of control. When you motivate someone, you're acting as a catalyst. You're sparking a drive that already exists inside of them.
Ah, I see.
Giving confidence implies they need you to survive.
Mm-hmm.
Motivating them implies you're unlocking their own potential to run independently. It's a much higher tier leadership skill.
And obviously this bridges the gap straight into our personal lives again. I mean, you don't give your teenager confidence to do their homework.
No, you'd be exhausting yourself trying.
Right. You motivate them to take ownership of their own education.
Right.
But motivation is just raw energy, isn't it? You have to point that energy somewhere.
Yes, which brings up the concept of attention. The everyday phrasing is usually, I need to give this my attention.
Again, we see the verb give.
Exactly.
Mhm.
And it scatters your resources. If you're just giving attention, your mind is acting like a floodlight, illuminating everything a little bit, but nothing intensely.
So the upgrade is focus. You don't give a client your attention, you focus on the client. You focus on the quarterly goals. You focus on improving your health.
Because focus is a laser. It implies the active elimination of distractions. When you tell a board of directors, hey, we are focusing our resources on the European market.
You're simultaneously telling them that you're deliberately ignoring other markets that don't serve your immediate goal.
Exactly. It implies a strategic choice has been made.
A quick note on the word focus before we move on, though. You really do have to be incredibly deliberate with your pronunciation, especially if you're speaking quickly.
Oh, yes. That's a very good point.
Yeah, you have to enunciate that long O sound very clearly, or you run the risk of accidentally saying a word that will definitely get you a meeting with HR.
Huh. That is an extremely fair warning for anyone operating in English.
Yeah.
Pronunciation is paramount there.
All right, I want to physically pause the audio flow for a second. We're talking about attention and focusing your energy like a laser. And I want to throw this directly over to you, the listener.
Yes, let's hear from you guys.
What is the #1 priority or goal you need to focus on this week? Stop what you're doing right now, scroll down, and drop your answer in the comments section. Seriously, commit it to writing. Let's see what you're focusing on.
And while you were down there in the comments section, taking action on that goal, please take 1 extra second to hit that subscribe button.
Yes, please do.
It ensures you don't miss out on these exact kinds of actionable communication frameworks, and it helps the channel tremendously.
Thank you so much for doing that. Now let's pivot a bit. We've identified the problems, resolved the crises, motivated the team, and focused our energy. The human element is locked in.
It is.
But any organization, whether it's a Fortune 500 company or just a household of four, runs on resources: time, energy, and money.
The structural foundation of the organism, really.
Yeah. And the language around money is usually pretty basic. People say, well, you need to spend as little as possible.
Which is a very common thought.
Right. But if I'm a shareholder and the CEO says, hey, we're trying to spend less, I don't feel very inspired. It just sounds like they're being cheap.
It implies a lack of control. Spending less is what you do when you're running out of money and panicking. The power verb you actually need is minimize.
Minimize.
Yes, you minimize expenses, you minimize costs, you minimize wasted time in the supply chain, or even, neighborhood noise.
But wait, isn't minimize just corporate jargon for the exact same thing? You're still cutting the budget, aren't you?
The action might be similar, yes, but the cognitive framing is vastly different.
How so?
To minimize means to reduce something to its absolute optimal lowest level while maintaining function. If you just cut costs, you might accidentally cut something vital, like the quality of your product.
Oh, okay.
But when you minimize waste, you're communicating an optimization process. You're keeping the muscle and trimming only the fat.
It's precision versus amputation. I see the distinction.
Yeah.
And naturally, the inverse of this applies to our games, right?
It does.
The general English thought is we need to make as much money as possible. The power verb is maximize.
Yes, you maximize profit, you maximize earnings, a student maximizes their academic grades, an investor maximizes the return on their portfolio.
Now, for anyone taking notes out there, there is a minor spelling divergence here that we should probably mention. You'll often see minimize and maximize spelled with a Z in American English.
Right.
And with an S in British English. Does that matter in a professional setting? Like, is one more correct?
Functionally, no. Both are universally recognized and perfectly correct.
Okay, good to know.
The only real rule of professional writing here is consistency. If you use the American Z in the first paragraph of an email, do not switch to the British S in the third paragraph. Pick a lane and stay in it.
Makes perfect sense. So we're minimizing our losses and maximizing what we currently have. But, I mean, there's a ceiling to that, isn't there?
There always is.
Eventually, you optimize your current resources as far as they will go, and you need new input. You just need more. Everyday phrasing is usually, well, I need to get more work, or we need to get more sales.
And the verb get is perhaps the most passive verb in the English language.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. It sounds like you're sitting there with your hands open, waiting for the universe or a client to just drop something into your lap.
That's a great way to picture it.
The business English power verb here is generate. You generate business. You generate revenue. You generate leads.
Okay, I have to challenge this for a second. Specifically, when we take these frameworks out of the boardroom and into the living room.
Okay, let's hear it.
It makes perfect sense to say, hey, we need to generate Q3 revenue. But if I tell my teenager, Johnny, you need to generate more enthusiasm for your chores,
Right.
I'm going to sound like a robotic middle manager who has completely lost touch with reality. How does generate function outside of a spreadsheet?
That is a brilliant pushback, actually, because it strikes at the core of why these words are so powerful. Generating enthusiasm isn't corporate jargon. It's a profound psychological concept.
Okay, explain that.
Think about the physics of a generator. A generator doesn't just catch electricity out of the air.
No, it creates it.
It takes mechanical energy, friction, movement, effort, and converts it into electrical energy. It is an active process of creation.
Oh, wow. So you aren't just telling someone to magically possess a feeling they don't have.
Exactly. If your child hates math, telling them to get interested is incredibly frustrating for them. They don't know how to just get in motion.
Right, you can't just flip a switch.
But understanding that they need to generate interest changes the assignment entirely. It means they need to find a process, maybe gamify the homework, or studying with a friend that converts their current state into a new state.
That makes total sense.
When you use a word like generate, you're acknowledging the mechanism of how feelings, ideas, and results are actually built from the ground up.
You're handing them a blueprint instead of just making a demand. You don't just have a good attitude, you generate it through your actions. That is a massive paradigm shift.
It really is. And that actually brings us to the final hurdle. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground today.
We really have. You can identify the deepest problems. You can resolve the most complex crises. You can motivate your teams, focus your priorities, minimize your liabilities, maximize your strengths, and generate endless new ideas.
But the hard truth of leadership is that you can do all of that on a whiteboard. And none of it matters if the whiteboard never translates to reality.
Yeah, the ideas are functionally useless without the action.
The execution phase. The everyday phrase we use is, we need to use these new ideas, or let's put this into practice.
Right.
The ultimate power verb, upgrade the action driver, is implement.
Implement. So you implement strategies, you implement the new safety rules, you implement the software update.
Exactly. Implement is the dividing line between consultants and executives.
Oh, I like that.
A consultant generates the ideas, but an executive implements them. Because implementation implies navigating the friction of reality. It's not just using an idea, it's embedding that idea into the complex machinery of a company or a daily routine.
It's the difference between having the ingredients and actually cooking the meal.
Yes.
You can have a fridge full of the most expensive, perfectly minimized and maximized groceries in the world, but nothing feeds your family until someone turns on the stove and implements a recipe.
And this leads us to the ultimate structural hack of this entire system. We've explored the vocabulary and the psychology, but the grammar is where the real leverage is.
Okay, the grammar.
You don't just have to memorize phrases like, I need to implement. The true power comes when you combine these 8 verbs with modal verbs.
Remind me, explain how that works in a daily conversation.
Modal verbs are words like must, should, can, could, will, and have to.
All right.
They express necessity or possibility. When you pair a modal verb with one of our 8 power verbs and then swap out the subject, you suddenly have this infinite generator for authoritative sentences.
Okay, give me some concrete examples of that formula in action.
Sure. You take a subject, let's say the marketing department, you add a modal verb must, and you add a power verb generate.
So the marketing department must generate higher engagement.
Exactly. Or change the formula. My team should focus on the new rollout. We have to minimize the supply chain delays before Friday.
Wow.
You are taking incredibly precise action words and binding them to undeniable directives.
You're effectively building an entire leadership operating system out of just 8 core components. Identify, resolve, motivate, focus, minimize, maximize, generate, and implement.
That's it.
If you filter your daily communication through those verbs, you eliminate the passive reactive language that makes you sound unsure.
You step out of the reactive space and into the architect space. But, I want to leave you, the listener, with a final, slightly provocative thought to mull over long after this deep dive ends.
Ooh, okay. What is it?
We started by discussing how the words you use shape how other people perceive your competence. But let's look inward for a second. There's a concept in linguistics called the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis.
I've heard of that.
It suggests that the structure of a language actually determines a native speaker's perception and categorization of experience.
Meaning the words you use actually dictate how you see the world.
Yes. So if you deliberately force yourself to abandon passive words like find out and get, and you rewire your daily vocabulary to words like identify, resolve, and implement, are you just sounding smarter to your boss? Or does that precise strategic language actually rewire your neural pathways? By forcing your mouth to speak the language of a strategic leader, do you inevitably force your brain to start thinking and acting like one?
Oh, wow. Does the language build the leader or does the leader build the language?
Exactly.
I suspect it's a bit of both, honestly. By actively choosing these power verbs, you aren't just putting on a sharp jacket to impress someone else. You're actively training yourself to see the world as a place you can navigate, optimize, and resolve.
I completely agree.
Well, that is an incredible place to wrap up our analysis today. Just remember, sounding professional and authoritative does not require a massive, intimidating vocabulary of multi-syllable jargon.
No, it doesn't.
It's entirely about the smart, strategic application of a few powerful, behavior-shifting words. You have those 8 tools in your toolkit now, so the only thing left for you to do is go out and implement them.
Implement them today.
Thank you so much for joining us for this incredibly practical deep dive here on the Biz English channel.
It's been great.
Before you go, let me remind you one last time to hit that subscribe button and drop a like on this video. And most importantly, head down to the comments section right now.
Yes, we want to see it.
We want to see you put these frameworks into action. Write a sample sentence or 2 using implement, resolve, generate, or any of the words we explored today. Show us how you are going to use them to take control of your own professional or personal life.
Can't wait to read them.
Until next time, keep focusing on your goals, keep generating that forward momentum, and we will see you on the next deep dive.